So here we are with Rani Kumar Raja. Rani, welcome to Fit for Privacy podcast.
Thanks for having me, Puneet. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. And let me start with the very basic question. We are in the digital world and we're talking about security, privacy, so many things. And then these days we are talking about something called digital trust. How would you define this concept of digital trust?
Well, trust is confidence, right? So, digital trust is trust in technology. So, when it comes to AI, specifically, we are in the AI world now. Trust in AI is whether AI models are being accurate, whether they're ethical, are they explainable, are they being transparent with their decisions. So, digital trust in AI has got a new meaning and a very deeper meaning because it is important to making sure that if you want to drive real adoption of AI, then it has to be trustworthy, right? If it has to be trustworthy, then it has to be explainable, it needs to be secure, it needs to be privacy managing, it has to be accountable. Like, who takes accountability when AI does a wrong decision? So digital trust, a super important topic, and AI has just given even more prominence to this topic.
That's very well said. And when we talk about AI, there's a new term that we hear, something called AI agents. Can you touch upon and explain what are these AI agents?
Yeah, it's a year of AI agents, right? A lot of predictions about how 2025 is going to be a year of AI agents. Yeah. So AI agents, to be honest, I mean, AI used to give you answers. Now agents would actually take action, right? So how does it take action? So AI agents have the ability to perceive the external environment. You can actually understand the environment around it, external environment. It processes the input. It actually has the autonomy to make decisions, and it has access to tools to execute that action that it decides to take. And if it is a goal based agent, then it has a goal that's assigned to it, so it needs to accomplish that goal no matter what. So you have to give it autonomy, you have to give it decision making rights. So agents, in many ways, the previous risk that I mentioned, agents have taken the risk level to a whole different level, that there's a lot that needs to be done in order to protect these agents and making sure it's aligned to what its original intended actions.
That's interesting. I would like to ask you about risks, but before that, is it possible that you can share with us an example of an AI agent, one or two maybe?
Absolutely. So, say for an example, it's an hospital that's using an MRI scan diagnosis assistant, right? So, all that it needs to do is that it scans the MRI, it needs to understand the images, and it needs to make a prediction and determine whether this person needs a surgery or not, right? So, this can be automated. It takes a lot of human effort, but if you don't do it with proper human review at the right places, right, your whole objective automating it, it's no use, because that's where the trust gets broken. You need proper human in the loop to do it. So that's one example. Another very simple example is your ticket reservation. Like, if you need to make a reservation to your vacation spot and you want a travel agent, an automated agent that actually goes through your preferences, it goes through your the availability, it accesses some external tools to understand where there are tickets available, and then what dates would work. It checks the weather, and then it comes back. It accesses your personal schedule to know when is the right time. So you see that it is making a lot of what typically humans would do in a real scenario, right? If there's a travel agent in that place instead of the AI agent, the human agent need to do all of these manually. So you are now giving the right and the decision making power to a software to do all these connections. So it needs access, it needs autonomous behavior, it needs decision making rights, and it needs proper privileges, right? So this travel agent would do all of that and also make your booking, which includes your, of course, your financial access, right, your account access, and it pays for your rooms, your hotel rooms, and then tells you, here is your itinerary, right? This is where you're traveling, this is your flight ticket, and this is where your hotel reservations are. But would I trust a travel agent to make my booking like an automated AI agent? Probably, but will I trust an AI agent to make a hire or a fire decision in an organization without human review? I wouldn't, right? Would I trust an AI agent to make a prediction or a conclusion about my MRI scans without a physician's review? I wouldn't. So that's where agents, you need to design it responsibly. I mean, AI itself, you need to design your AI systems responsibly, but agents, it's even more important because of the amount of rights, amount of access, amount of privileges that you're giving to this new software.
Okay, that's very interesting. But it seems to me that the risks or challenges, especially in context of security from these kind of agents, would be slightly different or maybe significantly different from what we usually talk about AI or machine learning. Could you, do you think if they are different, or how do you see that?
Absolutely, like I told you, right? So the key things here that differentiates agents from AI, right? Just AI risk itself was very different from traditional security risk. So first, I'll tell you what is how AI was different from traditional cybersecurity risk. Then I'll tell you how agents are even more different, right? So from a traditional security, the kinds of risk you had was data breaches, right? You had malware, you had some supply chain violation, things like that, or a patch needs to be done. There were vulnerabilities in the software. So most of the fixes where you identify and you fix, it's all one and done, right? But AI is not like that. AI is very probabilistic because what output it provides you at one time, it will be very different from another, right? So it's very probabilistic. It is not deterministic, and you cannot do it one and done. It needs to be continuous. It needs to be adaptive. It needs to be very AI aware threat mitigation strategy. The whole threat landscape has changed with AI. So traditional software tools do not know how to handle these new set of AI assets, right? They don't know what AI model looks like what the kind of vulnerabilities an AI model would have is very different from the vulnerabilities traditional applications have. So as an example, right? So in the past, when say the same example with hospital, let me take that example. If a hacker wants to get access to a sensitive data, they need to actually hack the database, get the access, break the access, and get to it, right? But right now with AI model, if you have trained the AI model with sensitive patient data, it has been proven that the model can actually remember that data, the training data. And you can, if you manipulate just by probing, you don't need to break any access, just by pure probing, you can actually extract sensitive, you can make it leak sensitive information about patients because it remembers. The second thing is model poisoning, right? We've never heard about this poisoning attack with traditional applications. If you want to screw up with some kind of predictions an AI model makes, all that you need to is go poison the training data that this model is going to be trained on. It's going to have a massive impact because all the decisions that it takes, if you introduce a bias, right, to making to for your own personal benefit, if you introduce bias into this model, it's going to make decisions that are going to be biased for massive set of use cases because that's one model covering multiple use cases. So the other is model theft. You don't need to break the access to get access to get the steal the model. You could actually extract the model information by pure prompt injection or prompt extraction, right? So a lot of things are very different between traditional cyber and AI. With agents, it's just even more difficult because now with the same model, you also have access to memory, you also have access to tools where sensitive data might be stored. You don't know what's happening inside because the agent goes through its own determined path to complete that goal. You just feed it knowledge, you give it access, you say you give the power to make the right course of action and what it needs to do, what steps it needs to do, it determines by itself. So that introduces a whole set of risk. There's a lot of literature that's out right now, but it's evolving. But I'll just mention a few. So there's something called agent control hijacking. So the hackers can actually get control of the agents because it's like if you are the weak, if it was humans, right? In traditional cyber world, if you are a weak link in the whole system, it's enough that you are getting compromised, that you are being compromised, then your access is compromised, that's it. then the hackers were able to access everything that you had access to. Same with agents. If you give your agents higher privileges and you are not monitoring, if you don't follow the least privilege principle, then if it is enough for the hackers to just take control of that one agent that has access to all these APIs, that has access to all these databases, data, and so forth. So we are with agents. We are actually protecting. We are not fighting against vulnerabilities like traditional. We are fighting against decisions, right? AI decisions, AI decisions integrity. We need to protect those AI decisions, which can have massive impact if not protected.
Okay, that sounds interesting and also scary. But if we say that these agents can act autonomously and
Hmm.
somebody can hijack them, I
Hmm.
would think we can also use them into our benefit by saying if we train them, guide them, coach them in terms of what do we expect from compliance and security measures, like we train our employees saying, do this, don't do that, be aware of phishing emails and all those things. If we
Hmm.
do that, I think these agents can also learn and be more relevant. No?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. So when it comes to mitigation, right, adversarial testing and adversarial training is super important. You need to train the agents on these are the kind of attacks that it can encounter, right? How do you? It's almost like, I mean, I keep comparing with humans, right? You would teach humans the same thing, right? We have phishing training. If you get an email like this is a simulated attack, you should know to identify the exact same thing with agents and software. It's no different, but you need a lot of adversarial because these are powerful machines, powerful software. You need a lot of AI adversarial testing and training that's done on these models and agents. Honestly, with the speed of evolution of these agents, there's a lot of catch up with the market in terms of solutions to properly protect these agents. For example, observability solutions. There's a very handful of organizations right now, startups that are actually working on true platforms where agent ops, it's called agent ops technology, where you give complete visibility for the user to how the agent, what is the chain of actions of this agent, what kind of path did it take, how did it complete logging, so that they can actually audit it, right? So that is not there. Everybody wants to jump into the agent wave, and they want to build a lot of solutions. But the truth is that the security solution, the solutions for all these risks are actually in a very nascent stage. It's catching up, right? Which is going to be the case for some time, because that's how quickly technology is evolving. From 2024 to 2025, we have moved from RAG based applications to agents so quickly. And then there are companies that need to constantly keep pace with all of these evolutions, because they want to, I mean, it's a fear of being left behind, so they need to adopt the next thing, right? That pressure is there. But what about guidelines, right? Even the communities like OWASP, MITRE Atlas, NIST, and a lot of other open source communities, they are trying to also catch up with this evolution, because they release something today, in 2 months it's already outdated, because the technology has gone into multi-agent, and it's very different now. They said, let's use LLM to evaluate an LLM's output to avoid hallucination, right? And then they said, oh, how would we trust a LLM as a judge? Okay, now how about LLM as a jury, right? A jury of LLMs that are going to evaluate and say whether this particular LLMs. So, I mean, every day there's new evolution. Every day there's something new that's coming up. I think what we need, I mean, there is ways to do it. It's important to go back to your fundamentals and getting your security, privacy, trust, and governance in place, or else it's very difficult for organizations to keep in pace with this evolution.
That does make sense. I think there's always a fear of missing out when it comes to technology. And with the speed at which technology is evolving, people, in fact, companies are taking a lot of actions,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
a lot of actions sometimes not knowing if the technology is right for them, technology is mature enough, and so on. But that will happen, and the risks are there. In that case, how can companies protect themselves against these risks, these security challenges that we see?
Absolutely. See, I this is what I believe in, that companies need to do get the fundamentals right. Is what I told you earlier, by because AI is different. and you need a holistic solution to this problem, not a fixed patch or one and done approach is not going to work. You need a well thought through holistic solution to manage the AI risk. So what I that's why AI governance. So the way I always draw this picture where AI governance is kind of the cornerstone. It's kind of the fundamental building block that you need to put in place. So once you have under the AI governance pillar, you have AI risk management. Are you managing the AI risk properly? And then you have AI asset management. Do you have visibility into all your AI assets in your organization? There's a whole problem of shadow AI. So without visibility, if you don't know what exists, then you can't protect what you don't know exists, right? So you need to
Mm-hmm.
first understand what exists. Then you need to know what is the risk involved. Are these systems, what kind of risk is involved? Then you need to have a good security posture understanding, right? Today, what controls do I have in place? Do I have guardrails? Do I have LLM firewalls? Do I have my privacy training for these models? Do I have proper red teaming being done? Do I have agent continuous monitoring capabilities? So many capabilities are there from the throughout the life cycle. If you're building an LLM app, across the life cycle, every stage of it, you need some control in place, because there is risk at every stage. There is risk that these AI systems can are exposed to at the training stage. If you don't ethically source data, if you don't have a good training visibility into your training pipeline, you run into risk of like bias, right? You run into the risk of like manipulated training data that's going to affect your decisions. Then in your development stage and design stage, you need to ethically design it with explainability. My AI is going to be explainable. Am I going to show how these decisions were arrived? Am I going to make sure that there is proper transparency into the AI's operations, right? Then when it comes to development and deployment, am I putting the right guardrails in place to avoid prompt injection attacks, right? Because these models, the simplest attack that they are subjected to is prompt injection, jailbreaks. People can just probe and do prompting. Through prompting, they can include a lot of attacks that can be done on this. They can extract sensitive information. They can extract the actual model decisioning logic. If they want to steal the model, they can do. There's model inversion and so forth. So the approach is to making sure that you have asset visibility, you have proper risk awareness about what exists, and you have a good security posture. You have the right controls in place to secure it. You're red teaming your applications constantly. And then you have the right controls in place to protect the entire attack surface. It's not just the model, it's not just the training pipeline, but the entire attack surface needs to be protected, right? And then when you do all of these, you will naturally be in a good posture, compliance posture, right? So are you able to align, I mean, comply to the regulatory guidelines, right? Governing your models. So all of these, this is what I call a life cycle approach. You discover, you assess risk, you map your threats, then you scan for vulnerabilities, then you implement the gaps, the controls in your risk, and then you are compliant, right? You are ready for your compliance audits. How far are you ready for compliance? So if organizations take a life cycle based approach, have a solid foundation of AI governance structure, I think they'll be much better off in this whole AI adoption journey.
I fully agree with you. I think governance is key. Identifying and managing and governing those risks is where it starts and where it also ends. It's a continuous journey. Now, while organizations take care of things, I think there are also some individual responsibilities when it comes to AI.
Mhm.
And it's both in context of those using AI and
Mhm.
also those building AI. So, what role do you see for individuals when using or building AI?
So, for individuals using AI, the number one is AI literacy. If you are not aware of this technology and what it entails, what are the benefits, what are the impact if you don't follow the right guidelines, right? Are you sharing data that you shouldn't be sharing with an AI system? So, the fundamental thing is AI literacy, getting trained on AI, at least basic training, understanding what a model is, how does it work, what is it doing with our data, what harm can it do, right? If you're and Why you shouldn't share your personal information with AI. So all that kind of basic awareness is very important. And then the next thing would be, if you are in a position where you can actually you influence an ethical design of AI, if you're a developer or whatever, right? Making sure you stand for it, making sure you support those policies. If you're part of the training phase of an AI, making sure that you support the proper sourcing of data, and making sure that you are aware of the risk if you don't have good supply chain visibility into your model. So lot of responsibilities, that it is not a single person's responsibility. Responsible AI itself is a very collective responsibility. Everybody has a role to play. As a common user, if you want to really understand the harm, you need to use AI more, but use it after you understand, at least get the basic knowledge about what this technology is. And don't be left out, because I think the future is AI is bound to be here. So the more you use, the more you're comfortable, the more you know what it is, but use it with the understanding of the risk. That's what I would say.
No, very well said. I think AI literacy is key both for people using AI and also building AI. Of course, the
Mhm.
level of literacy and what you get yourself knowledgeable about is different, but it's very important. And then, of course, it's about managing risk and making risk-based choices, whether you're a user or a builder. Now, you seem to be doing a lot of work in this area. Would you also be open to share something about you and your company and what you are doing?
Absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO of Secura AI. It's a startup that's focused on securing and governing AI. So I have a unified platform. So the life cycle approach that I told you, that I explained on this podcast, the platform actually brings it to life, right? So you need a platform. I didn't want to just address one problem from this overall problem domain, just one piece of it, but I wanted to approach it holistically. So the platform brings that whole life cycle approach to life by having a risk management component, an asset management component, a compliance management, and a security management component, all in one platform. And these there are also like smaller products, like there's an attack simulation platform for AI red teaming that I mentioned, which is basically simulating attacks, real life attacks on the models. If you have an LLM app, the AI red teaming tool can actually do some static testing as well as some dynamic AI powered testing on your AI apps to kind of replicate and kind of simulate what hackers would be doing using, again, they use AI as well in order to, that's a double edged sword of cyber, right? Like AI powered cyber, and then you also need AI to combat that. So that is what my company is focused on. Yeah, and it's based in New Jersey, US.
That's good to know. You're doing some great stuff. And if, based on this conversation, people are interested to, let's say, talk to you or find you or contact you for more details, what's the best way?
LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and you should see my. You can also visit securaai.com and leave a message from there as well. So LinkedIn would be my preferred way to get in touch with people. And yeah, I'm looking for partners, and we have some active partnerships already in place. And I'm looking for more partnerships, and because it needs to be a collective effort, and I believe in collaborative partnerships to make bigger things possible.
Absolutely. Partnerships help. And I hope you find lots of them. And for now, I would say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, insights, and bringing this knowledge to us.
Thanks a lot, Punit. It was amazing, and I loved conversing on this topic with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rani.
Thank you.